I'm Adrian, the Cruise and Travel Guy. Welcome to the third video in my Alaska cruise series. I've linked to the rest of the playlist in the description below. For this video though, we're going to focus on Alaska's cruise ports, and I'll tell you everything that I did during my recent Alaska cruise. Remember, when you're planning your next cruise or holiday, head to my website first where you can search, compare, and book. This video is broken up into chapters, so if you'd prefer, you can skip through to your preferred port. I'll also preface this by saying that we cruised with Regent Seven Seas, so some of the cruise tours that we did were included with the fare and others we paid extra for or organized privately, but I'll tell you exactly which was which and how much we paid during the video. Our cruise began in Vancouver, where we stayed overnight pre-cruise at the Exchange Hotel. Now, while we had planned to stay for 3 nights in Vancouver before our cruise, we were caught up in the Air Canada strike and cancellations, so that meant we were reduced to 1 night pre-cruise, but that's just further confirmation that you must always build buffer into your cruise itineraries if you are planning to fly into the cruise port. The Exchange Hotel was a fantastic place. It was really well located, only a couple of blocks away from Vancouver's international cruise terminal known as Canada Place. The room itself was excellent, very spacious and quite contemporary, even though it had a bit of a classic feel to it. We did have a long list of things to do in Vancouver before we went that obviously was thrown out the window when our time there was reduced. But on the way home, we had a very late night flight back to Australia from Vancouver. So after we disembarked the ship, we actually stayed at the Hyatt Regency as a day use hotel. This was just booked online. You can Google day use hotels and find a range of options in different cities, and it was a really fantastic base for us just to feel like we could refresh before our long haul flight and have a base to work from. And from that base, we actually ended up taking an Uber to Granville Island, which is one of Vancouver's premier foodie destinations and art scenes, and it's a really fantastic place that's very close to the city center. We enjoyed the food and the arts, craft beer and cocktails and the whole thing. It was a really great day out and a nice way to spend a few hours before we returned to the hotel to get ready for our very, very late and very long flight. You can even check out my flight reviews on the channel as well. Our first port of call during our 2-week cruise itinerary was Klawock. This is a newer port for cruise ships, so it hasn't really been frequented that much. It definitely does not feel touristy. The people here are really friendly and very welcoming to cruise tourism. There isn't exactly a lot to do there, although there were some tours that could be booked. We ended up opting to use the complimentary shuttle bus just to explore the area and get out of the cruise terminal part. And it was really nice to see some of the totem poles and what was the very small town center of Klawock. We ended up heading over to Craig, which, no disrespect at all, I really thought it was very quaint and cute, but really reminded me of what I've seen on Schitt's Creek, the show that is made famous by the Levys. It was actually a really nice introduction to Alaska without any sort of touristy feel, which is something that the other ports do have. Next up for us was Juneau, where most ships dock within a stone's throw of the downtown core, but there still can be some distance to contend with, so just check where your cruise ship is docking and you may have a bit of a stroll ahead of you. We were lucky and docked right in the downtown center. As soon as we disembarked the ship, we noticed the Gold Belt Tram, which is one of the steepest cable cars in Southeast Alaska or the world apparently, and that takes riders all the way up to the top of the mountain, which is about 1,800 feet away. But the cost for this was about $50 per person, which was a bit on the steep side considering the Australian conversion rate, so we didn't do that. Instead though, we had a cruise tour booked with Regent. This was one that was included in our cruise fare. It took us to one of Juneau's major attractions, which is the Mendenhall Glacier. It's one of the most accessible glaciers in Alaska, so Juneau presents a really fantastic opportunity for everyone to be able to access the glacier and see it and feel its majesty right there in person in a very easy and fairly inexpensive way, even if you do have to pay for the tour. Once at the Mendenhall Glacier Visitor Center, we explored on foot for a couple of hours, walking the trails to the best glacier viewing point, and then over to Nugget Falls, which was fantastic. It is truly one of those pinch me moments to be there and see it in person. It's just a beautiful spot, and admittedly we got fantastic weather pretty much throughout the entire cruise, which did help with things, but it was still truly just gorgeous. Do allow a good hour at least to make your way over to Nugget Falls and back again at a steady pace, and of course to enjoy some time over there at the waterfall itself. Back near the cruise dock, downtown Juneau offers plenty of tourist attractions and Alaskan favorites. You've probably heard of Tracy's Crab Shack, and it is definitely one of those places that most tourists will probably hit up. It is of course famous for its crab legs and just the whole operation. It's an expensive endeavor and one that we paid over 500 Australian dollars, including a tip for, but it has long been on our bucket list to enjoy that, so we did, and you know, as the old saying goes, when in Alaska. It's also worth noting that there are 2 Tracy's Crab Shack locations, so if the first one that we visited is really busy, you can head over to the second. We went at about 3:30 p.m, so there was no queue at all at the central location. The Red Dog Saloon is another tourist haunt, but again, one of those things that you almost have to do, and it's famous for a few reasons, but one of them is the duck fart shot. The drink itself is not too bad at all, but it's more about the experience of being in there and being entertained, and it is definitely something to do. Along the streets, you'll also find plenty of small stores for souvenirs, clothing, local made treats such as fudge, and freeze-dried candy, which has become a new favorite for me. All in all, Juneau is one of those places that you can definitely find something to do, and even if you don't plan something, you can easily make something to do just by walking around on foot and exploring, or even jumping onto that tram if you haven't done anything else or organized anything else. Skagway is another central port to pretty much all Alaskan cruises. In town itself, you'll find the usual array of stores and souvenir places and touristy locations, so you kind of get used to seeing the same sorts of things in various cruise ports in Alaska. So if you've done one, you've sort of done them all, but they do still have a unique flavor. Cruise ships generally all dock in the same vicinity. It's an easy walk into downtown if you would like to do your own thing on foot, but we actually opted for the White Pass Yukon Route Railway. It's one of the most famous attractions in Skagway, and I do highly recommend it. We booked this with Regent directly at a cost of 219 Australian dollars per person. That included a roughly 3-hour return trip in the vintage railway cars, which climb the almost 2,900 foot high or 880 meter White Pass summit. There are incredible views along the way, and it is really a stunning thing to do, especially if you have excellent weather like we did, but you can't plan for that. The railway was actually completed in the year 1900, having begun construction a couple of years earlier during the Klondike Gold Rush. It became the main route to the interior of the Yukon. In 1988, it was reopened purely as a tourist attraction to appeal to cruise ship tourists, which were really making their presence known in Alaska at that time, and of course still today. The train's conductor, or someone fulfilling that role, explains the history and sights throughout the trip. As the train turns around at the summit, everyone gets the opportunity to experience both sides of the scenery, with the left-hand side of the carriage offering the best views on the way up, and of course the right-hand side on the way down. Each carriage also has an open-air deck front and back, although it's best not to hog that limited space. Sitka became one of my favorite Alaskan cruise ports. Our ship docked on the outskirts of the main town at the purpose-built cruise dock. At the terminal, you'll find plenty of shopping and eating opportunities, and there is a shuttle bus service that is free for cruise ship passengers, but passengers are expected to book a slot using a website, which helps control the number of people heading to the shuttle bus station at any one time. The queue can look intimidating, but it is a well-oiled machine. Things run very smoothly and quickly, and then you'll have a roughly 15-minute trip into central Sitka. The town itself does feel slightly less touristy compared to Juneau, Skagway, and Ketchikan, but that's just my opinion. It also has Russian origins, and you'll find that in the architecture, which is really lovely to see. We ended up opting for a private excursion here, booked with Shore Excursions Group. I've linked to the company website below where you can search and book your own tours for any upcoming cruises. And they do offer a guaranteed return to ship, which is nice for a private tour operator. We chose the Best of Sitka at a cost of $208 Australian per person. This was a small group tour, and we only had 11 passengers in our group. It was really easy and intimate, and we were able to really access our tour guide, who was an experienced local and really knowledgeable. It made it really easy to chat with him and ask questions, and it was so nice not being herded around like you can sometimes feel on larger coach-based tours. We visited the Sitka National Historical Park first, where we viewed totem poles, wooded forests, and a fast-flowing river with spawning salmon. We then headed to the very famous Fortress of the Bear, where we got to see the conservation work that goes on to permanently house brown and black bears who would otherwise have been euthanized. Last up on our tour was the Alaskan Raptor Center. It's a rehabilitation center for birds of prey, including bald eagles, owls, and other incredible birds. It's actually really cool to see these up close, and it is also cool to see them in the wild, as we managed to once or twice during our trip. If you're enjoying this video so far, please give it a thumbs up to help other people find it on YouTube. And don't forget, I have my 7 top things to know before booking an Alaskan cruise video on my channel as well. Whittier is typically a turnaround port for most Alaskan cruises, meaning you'll either be embarking or disembarking your cruise here. For us though, we were on a back-to-back, which meant we had a 1-week cruise up to Whittier and then a 1-week cruise back down to Vancouver. So we got to experience Whittier as tourists. We actually got to enjoy one of the best tours that we've ever done here in Whittier, and it was on the recommendation of Anthony, one of my viewers, so thanks again Anthony for that recommendation. We booked a jet ski tour with Glacier Jet Ski Adventures. It's a small group tour. There were only 4 of us with 2 guides. I think they typically cater for up to 6 tourists at a time. There's no experience necessary, it's incredibly safe and well organized. There are 2 sessions and we opted for the morning slot. The entire experience lasts for about 4 to 4.5 hours. Warm gear is a must, and we actually brought thermals with us on the recommendation and advice of the tour company. They also supplied us with additional fleeces and even a dry suit, boots, a helmet, radio, and gloves. The whole trip was incredible, but the highlight was seeing multiple glaciers, raging waterfalls, and being literally the only 6 people out on the water. Engines off, we got to enjoy the complete silence and solitude of this majestic wilderness. The company adheres to strict environmental guidelines and they're fully licensed to operate in the region. They take safety and rule adherence incredibly seriously. The tour was pricey, but worth it, coming in at $380 per person. Icy Strait Point is the only privately owned cruise port destination in Alaska. It's owned by approximately 1,350 Alaskan natives with Aboriginal ties to the surrounding areas. Many of them are Tlingit people. All profits directly support the community of Juneau. There are trails to walk and sights to see almost everywhere. It was developed as a tourist locale with cultural experiences and attractions. There's a cannery where you can learn about the salmon canning industry, and there's also plenty of cultural moments that you can enjoy while on the island. We opted for one of Regent's included excursions, which was a trolley ride. It was pretty fun, if very dusty, on account of the unseasonably dry weather Alaska was having during our visit. We were afforded with some really beautiful views, and our tour guide was incredibly entertaining and knowledgeable. We did get to learn a lot about what we were seeing. Of course, we couldn't just do that, so we opted for another thing that Icy Strait Point, or Juneau, is very famous for, one of the world's tallest zip riders. This is located approximately 400 meters or 1,300 feet above sea level. There's a staging platform where you're harnessed into a suspended seat before being released and riding all the way back down to sea level, reaching speeds of around 100 kilometers per hour or 60 miles per hour. Apart from a split-second free fall sensation at the beginning of the ride, it is very fun and exciting. The wind was so strong that I had to turn my head to breathe at times. It was very funny. I had a good laugh. It's also worth noting that you can keep smaller valuables with you. There's a pocket located on the back of the seat where you can pop a phone or your sunglasses or anything small that's in your pockets. You can bring cameras and phones to record, but you can only do so if they're physically attached to your wrist with a strap. They even provide you with goggles if you would like to keep wearing your glasses. We paid 251 Australian dollars per person for this tour, and we did book it through Regent. There's also a green cable car and a red cable car. I believe the green one is complimentary for all travelers. It takes you over to the cannery. You can also walk the trails to get there if they're open. Sometimes they're shut because of wildlife sightings like bears. The red cable car does come with a cost, although I believe that is included if you've booked one of the tours, such as the Zip Rider. Both of these were included for guests of Regent, and we were the only ship in port that day, so some of the dining and bar venues were not open throughout the island, but there were still a couple that were open during our visit. During busier days with more ships, you can expect to see more of them operational. Ketchikan is arguably one of the most touristy of the cruise ports, but in a whimsical and fun way. It's kind of kitschy, but that's sort of the point. One of the main economic drivers in Ketchikan is now tourism, so there's a big focus on catering to the thousands of cruise ship passengers that descend on the town almost every day during cruise season. We didn't do an official tour of any sort here, but we walked around, took in the sights, and did a little shopping. Most ships dock right in the town centre, which is only a short walk away from the streets and stores of downtown, and a stone's throw to highlights such as Creek Street, with its vibrant history as a red light district. It remains a major tourist attraction even today. The Salmon Creek Walk is also a really nice way to get some steps in. It's a really short walk actually from the bottom of Creek Street up to the top, but it does mean navigating some stairs, so accessibility here is not great. You'll see plenty of salmon jumping and spawning, and the creek right up the top is a great little place to reach. In town itself, you'll find lots of jewelers and souvenir stores, and of course there is a lumberjack show, which is one of the big draw cards of Ketchikan. You can book this ahead of time, and I would recommend doing that if you're interested. You can still book it privately directly through the company online, and I'm sure that cruise line operators still provide their own tour options as well, but it's so easy to get there. It is literally just downtown. British Columbia's capital city is known as Victoria, and it is a common cruise stop on Alaskan cruises, mostly because it provides an opportunity for ships to sail to a distant foreign location if they're sailing from the US return. But don't sleep on Victoria. It's actually a very beautiful and very walkable city. Cruise ships do dock a little way out of town, but it's still an easy trip on foot or with a rideshare service like Uber or a cruise line shuttle to get into the downtown region. During our cruise, the shuttle was $15 per person, so it was actually more economical just to rely on Ubers and walking. Fisherman's Wharf is a must visit. It's a short walk, maybe 15 minutes from the cruise terminal, or you can definitely jump in one of those rideshare options. It's very pretty and colorful and is known as a tourist destination for its unique floating homes, but people do in fact live there. You can walk along the docks and get a first-hand view into life on the piers. There's also a few shops, restaurants, and drinking holes. We chose to enjoy some fresh fish and chips, oysters, and some local ale. It's a really lovely spot, and I can see why people gravitate towards it. We then took one of the water taxis over to Chinatown. A one-way ride was about 15 Canadian dollars per person, so not exactly cheap, but part of the fun of being in Victoria. From there, we walked on foot, explored and sampled some local foods, and we even made our way to Fan Tan Alley, known for being the narrowest commercial alleyway in North America. It's only 90 centimeters or 3 feet wide at its narrowest point. We made our way down to the waterfront to the famous Fairmont Empress Hotel. You can go inside, but she's still a sight to behold, even from the outdoors. Continuing around the busy and vibrant waterfront, you can easily explore the grounds of the Legislative Assembly of British Columbia and its beautiful Parliament buildings. During a past visit to Victoria many years ago, I visited Butchart Gardens. This is a National Historic Site of Canada. The gardens are stunning and a visit is highly recommended. It is a bit of a distance, so it might be easier or better to book with a cruise line tour just to make sure you can get there and back again easily and within time. Victoria is one of those great places where you really don't need to pre-plan if you don't want to. You can just sort of take it easy, walk out on foot and enjoy your day and discover things that you might want to do along the way. It feels like one of those places that is just designed for easy tourism. Alaska is known for some of the most incredible sights in the world, so scenic cruising is definitely part and a big part of every cruise itinerary. You'll see towering mountains and peaks, waterfalls, and of course, glaciers. What cruise lines don't really tell you is that sailing into and out of most cruise ports comes with these views. But these moments, they're not listed on a cruise itinerary, they just exist. So I encourage you to spend as much time as you can outdoors on your Alaskan cruise. Of course, the most epic of these views come from those proper glacier viewing moments. Glacier Bay National Park is one of the best, and I have been there on a past cruise, but during this cruise, we enjoyed Hubbard Glacier twice and Dawes Glacier at Endicott Arm. The views are just sensational. You really just become mesmerized by the sights, and my tip is just to keep an ear out for the calving moments where ice falls off the glacier front. It sounds like thunder, and then eventually you'll just see this splashing occur. It is very special and very fun. During our cruise, there was an opportunity for guests to jump on board a smaller boat, which took them closer to the glacier. We did consider it, but at 424 Australian dollars per person, that was not a long consideration, especially in reference to the other tours that we had booked during this cruise. And frankly, we did get an incredible viewing opportunity from the cruise ship itself, so I don't feel like we missed out at all. I hope you enjoyed this video and learning what I did during our Alaskan cruise. For what it's worth, I really feel like I got to tick all the boxes that I wanted to tick. I got to do some of the adrenaline things, I got to take in the sights and the wilderness, and that was really what I wanted to do. So for me, it ticked all the boxes. For you, you might be different. Let me know in the comments, what would you like to do on your Alaskan cruise if you're going there soon out of what I've done? Did you discover some other option? Or if you have been there, let us know what is your recommendation. Like I said at the beginning, I have other videos in my Alaskan cruise series, which I encourage you to watch. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you like. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Cruise and Travel Guy to stay up to date with my travels as they happen. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll see you soon.